Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Danielle and I'm the owner of Damn Fancy Creations and the Drunk Flamingo Glitter. If you guys are new to my channel, I do want to let you know that all of my groups and links are posted in the description below in case you want to check them out. Today's tutorial is day 11 of my 12 Days of Christmas video series. I cannot believe it's almost over. I've really enjoyed creating these little tutorials of tumblers and other little crafts for you guys, and I hope y'all have liked them as well. Today we are going to be hand painting these fun little poinsettias and leopard spots. And before we get started on the tutorial, I do just want to point out that I have never hand painted poinsettias before, ever. Not on tumblers, not on cups, not on serving trays, anything. A lot of you guys I know get intimidated when y'all see cups like this or think there's no way I can hand paint that. I am not that good. I can't wait to be able to do that stuff. But I promise y'all, if you just take it one step at a time, it's a very easy tumbler to complete. You just have to work in steps and look at each little piece as one step versus looking at everything as a whole, because I know that can be intimidating if you just look at the whole picture versus taking a step back and looking at the individual pieces. So I promise you guys, if you follow this tutorial, it will be very, very easy for you guys to complete this tumbler, and you'll end up with a really pretty hand-painted piece of art. Don't forget that all of my 12 Days of Christmas tutorials have a giveaway associated with it. You can find all the details in my tutorial group. Everything that you see listed here will be covered in today's tutorial, but you guys know if you'll have questions about anything I went over, you can ask in the comments and I'll come back and answer them. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get started on this tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoy. And if you guys did not know, I will be teaching a 2-day class at next year's TUMBLERCON. If y'all are interested in tickets, I do have them linked in the description, as well as a discount code for our class. I cannot wait to meet you guys in person, and I hope to see you there. Alright guys, so for today's tutorial, we're going to be using ColorFix paints for the majority of our hand painting. And a little trick that I do with my ColorFix paints is I put a little rock in some of my bottles. You can use marbles, the glass little stones. I like to put these in my ColorFix paints because you have to shake them up really good, because the ColorFix paints are a paint primer and glitter glue all mixed together. So if you do not mix them very well, they will appear very watery, but adding something like a rock or marble really helps to get that mixture mixed up, so you're not sitting there shaking it for 5 minutes every time you want to use it. The rock really helps things get incorporated. So these are all the colors that I kind of just squirted a little bit out in my medicine cups. I went for some reds and pinks, whites, and we're using some greens for our leaves. If you guys have not used the ColorFix paints, these are from Artistry, and we do have a discount code down below. I do really like these because they are easy to blend. They also work great if you want to base coat and glitter in one step. So I'm going to start with a relatively small paintbrush. And I'm going to start with my red. And we're kind of going to make an elongated teardrop shape and just fill that in. And my red was a little bit watery, so I did have to mix it up a little bit. And then we're just going to make another shape right next to this one. I am leaving a little bit of space between my petals. And we're just going to go around what would be the center of the flower. Now, if you feel more comfortable adding a small little dot or a pencil mark so you have a visual of where the center of your poinsettia will be, you can add a little dot with a pencil or just a little paint dot. That's fine as well. So now we kind of have like an abstract little flower shape. So now we're going to move right into the next color. I'm using blush, and I am not switching brushes because I like the look of how the paint kind of blends. And I'm just applying the same type of shape, just a little bit smaller, and we're applying it in between the petals that are already on our cup. And you guys can see that this step, the flower petals do touch each other. So we're just going to go around the tumbler, applying the pink shade in between the red petals. And some of my petals are thinner than others, some are a little thicker. Don't stress about trying to get them all the same size. So now I am going to go with the lightest shade that we're using, which I actually think this one may be blush. I think the second one was petal pink, actually. So the first one was red, the second one was petal pink, and the lightest color is blush. And again, I did not clean my brush. If your brush is pretty loaded with paint, you can just wipe it off on the side. But I really like the look of how the paint shades kind of blend together. So it's not such a stark contrast between the colors. And again, we're just making the same type of shape, we're just making it smaller. And this is what your poinsettia is going to look like. So I am just going to speed this up a little bit so you guys can watch me do the rest of my flowers, see how I layer them. And yes, I am just doing this free-handed, which is just kind of how I prefer to hand paint, or with paint pens I do the same thing. But if y'all would rather draw them out, that is definitely an option. But we are doing the same thing. We're just starting with the darkest color, the red, and then we are working our way to the lighter shades. And when I start a new flower, unless I am layering it, I do provide a little bit of space because I knew going in that I wanted to add some little berries and some little pine branches. So I wanted to make sure that I still had some space to add some of those details without the tumbler being too crowded. And before I started to paint these poinsettias on my tumbler, I did practice on some plain copy paper just to see what colors I liked together, how many flowers or how many petals I liked per layer. And then when I kind of got that down, that's when I started to paint on my tumbler. So it is freehand, but I did practice on some plain copy paper before I moved to the tumbler. So I kind of had a plan going in on how I wanted my flowers to look, and then just translated that from paper to my tumbler. So we are going to put one on the bottom. I did not want the bottom just to be blank. So we are just trying to paint this flower on a curve as best we can. It was very awkward. So now that we are done with the flower part of our tumbler, I am going to start doing some detail work and adding our leaves. So I am using succulent and rainforest. So we have two different shades that we're working with. Rainforest is a brighter green, succulent is more of a muted green. And we're just going to add some leaves just around the poinsettias. I did not want to overlap them. I'm just bringing them right to the edge. And since we are going to be outlining our flowers and leaves with black paint pen, if you're not touching the flower completely, that's fine because the paint pens will cover that up. So I'm just kind of applying my leaves where they kind of form into the blank space. And we have one little one poking up from the bottom. And now I'm taking this golden color. I believe this is cinnamon donut. And we're just making some little dots inside the poinsettias. Just like their little, I don't know what you would call these. Stamens, pollen, I don't know. But we're just making some little dots. And once we get done with that part, we're going to start making our little branches for our pines. So I'm just using a brown POSCA marker and then just pulling our lines from the branch outward to make the little pine needles. I am using POSCA markers. Those are my favorite. I like them because they have a felt tip. They also have loads of colors and they have several different size options as well. These are the fine tip markers. They do have an extra fine and then they have a medium. What I'm using right now is a medium tip. This is kind of like an olive green color. And I'm just using this one to throw some different shades of green into the pine needle branches. And now I'm going to go back with our like Kelly green color and we're going to make some little branches for our berries. And again, I am just kind of drawing these elements into the blank space. And then we're going in with this little cranberry color that I have and just drawing some little circles. I don't think that POSCA markers have colors on them. This is just a multi-pack that I got off Amazon. It will be linked in the description. And I know POSCA markers can be a little bit more expensive than others, but I promise y'all they are definitely worth the price. I use these markers so often for so many different projects. So we're going to sit and let that dry for a little bit. And when all of our paint is dry, we can start outlining with our markers. I am going to be using the extra fine tip. And I really should have let my paint dry for a little bit longer. Some of my paint was still a little bit wet, which ended up kind of like clogging my paint pens. So I did have to like switch them out. So I would make sure that your paint is 100% dry before you start trying to draw on them. The extra fine point POSCA markers, they do have a different tip on it. I don't know if it's felt or something else. It doesn't look plastic. I'm not really too sure though. The felt would have definitely worked better on the paint, but the felt was a little bit thicker than I wanted. I really wanted a thinner outline. So we're just outlining all of our petals right now. That is the first thing that you're going to do. Just outline all the petals. And then we're going to outline the leaves. And then we are going to move on to the next flower and do the same thing. And I am just following the paint strokes too. You can kind of see which petals kind of overlap each other based on your stroke of your paintbrush. And I just followed that. And that's how I kind of drew my outline. This is where my paint pen started to drive me crazy. So I just outlined the best I could. I was really trying not to switch to the heavier marker. So y'all can see on my little paper, I'm just like trying to get it to work again. But I was just trying to get this done. So we are just going to do this for all of our flowers and leaves. We are just going to outline all the petals and the leaves. I did not outline the berries or the little pine branches. And once you get done outlining all of the petals, we will be ready to detail the petals. So here you guys can see how I detailed the petals by adding some veining and details to the leaves. So that is what I'm going to show you guys how I do now. And that's my little practice sheet for my poinsettias. So we're just going to start by kind of making some little details around the interior petals. It almost kind of made it look like the petals were kind of folded over a little bit. And then we're going to start kind of detailing around the edges of the petal just to give the petals some interest. And we are just going to do this for all of our little petals, just so it doesn't look so blank. So I'm just going to speed this up a little bit. Y'all can see I'm clearly still struggling with this dang paint pen. So we are just detailing around the edges. Nothing too crazy. And I'm just speeding this up a little bit. I'm still going to let it play. But just so you guys aren't watching me make random jagged edges for the next 20 minutes. And once you get done detailing around the edges, we're going to go back and add the veining in the center of the leaves. So I just start with a line down the center of each petal. And then I am just going to pull out some little lines. So I am just still using this fine tip pen. And I'm just pulling the little veins to and from the center line that we're making. And I'm not being very heavy-handed at all. I am just lightly pulling out these lines. I don't want them super dark or thick. So I am just lightly pulling these lines down the center of my petal. If some of them are lighter than others, that's perfectly fine with me. That's just my preference. If you want your lines to be darker, then you can be a little bit more heavy-handed than I was. And then I just go back and pull smaller lines from the center line. And we're just going to do this for all of the petals, and then we're going to go and detail the leaves a little bit. I will say that when you are doing this paint pen work, you do have to be careful with how you hold the tumbler, because you can smudge it. I did do that one time, just not even thinking about it. I grabbed the tumbler and I smudged my paint markers, but it was just a very small amount, so it was very easy to clean up. And I know that these sections are a little bit light, so you can't really even see them on video. But again, I just kind of wanted my little veinings to be just light, not super heavy. And then I'm just going to go detail these leaves a little bit. We're just detailing the edges. And then I will just add some little marks on the inside. I don't even know what you would call these. We're just adding some little lines. So I was pretty happy with how this was looking, but if you know me, I love leopard print. So I took my heavier marker. I think I was using the largest tipped marker that I had. And of course I went in and added some leopard spots. And when I do leopard spots with paint pens, I don't really draw them on. I just kind of dot my spots. You can kind of see how I'm just dotting the spots on. This way it gives the edges kind of an uneven feel and looks a little bit more like realistic leopard print versus just swiped on with a marker. And you can use paint as well, but I just had my markers out. I didn't feel like breaking out some more paint, so I just decided to use my markers. And I'm just going to go through my tumbler and add some leopard spots wherever I see a lot of blank space. I don't mind a little bit of blank space on my tumblers, but if there was like a large section that did not have poinsettias or leaves or greenery, I just decided to add some leopard print there. So I'm just going to speed this up a little bit so you can watch me do one more section. And once everything dries, I'm going to take this outside and put it on my turner. I do not seal anything, and that's just my preference. I haven't found a need to seal paint pens or ColorFix paints. My epoxy goes over them just fine. So we are going to take our cup outside. I am adding a little bit of Ocean Breeze Vodka Cocktail Glitter, which you can get on thedrunkflamingo.com. I just wanted my tumbler to have a little bit of sparkle. We are using Artistry's 1-to-1 fast set. It is my favorite epoxy. If you guys have not tried them, there is a discount code down below. And once this layer of epoxy cures, we are going to bring it in and get a clean rim. We are going to use the edging tool from Cami Page Boutique. They are also linked below. So you guys can see what our rim looks like now. It's not terrible, but we do want to get a nice, smooth, stainless rim exposed. I will typically heat up my tumbler with a little bit of hot water. You can also use your heat gun. You just have to be careful with it. And we are just going to spin this blade around our cup. This is the half spacer. So we just get about 3 millimeters exposed. And then we're just going to peel off that epoxy that we just cut. This one, I think I did not make it all the way around, so there's a little bit still left. I needed to take that blade to a little bit, and I still think that I missed it. So we're just going to peel that off, and now we still have some paint that's left. So we are going to take some acetone, and I'm just going to use one of my microfiber rags. And we're just going to clean up any paint residue that is left on that rim. And once we clean up this rim, it's going to be nice and smooth, and we can apply our final layers of epoxy. That way we have a very clean, smooth rim, and we are 100% sure that everything is going to be sealed in. We're not going to get a broken seal or anything like that. So here's what our rim looks like. So then we will epoxy. I will do 2 more times. And then here is some finished pictures of this tumbler. I really love how it turned out. I wish I would have done it on a larger cup, but I really was not sure how these poinsettias were going to turn out. If you guys decide to give this cup a try, please post in the tutorial group because I love to see what you guys come up with. And I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If y'all learned something new or enjoyed this tutorial, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, check out my tutorial group or our Damn Fancy tribe. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.